across the internet. This is an Unshackled Livestream, brought to you by the Unshackled.net. Now, here's the Unshackled team.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unshackled's New South Wales State Election coverage. We are live tonight on the Unshackled YouTube and Odyssey channel. Entropy is down, so I will be taking questions directly from the live chat. Hello to everyone waiting patiently in the chat. It is 10 past 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So the polls have been closed for over an hour now, and a very slow count is underway. So by starting the show later, certainly haven't missed much. Now, we were going to be joined by the Unshackled senior editor Damien Ferri, but he's had to pull out unexpectedly. But I've got with me for the beginning of the stream here from New South Wales Patriots against the extreme left, Reg Penney. Welcome.
Hey, how you going, Tim? Long time, mate.
I know it has been. We got to catch up, finally meet in person mid last year and check out Captain Cook's statue that the communists always want to take down.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen them much lately. Besides seeing them getting a bit of a ruffle with the city folks, so they're not going to go to West Sydney again after that.
And can you explain to me why the vote count is so slow? I thought our Victorian Electoral Commission last year was extremely slow, but and apparently they're all packing up and going home at 10:30 p.m. tonight. They don't even want to do any overtime.
Yeah, it's just like everyone just want to be bothered about it. I mean, I think there's like everyone's like people vote early, and then people want to vote. People want to vote. I think it's just something to do with the rigging or something like that. I mean, yeah, everyone's just saying that Labor's going to win. Labor's going to win. I'm not too sure about that. I just don't want Labor to win. But
what do you think of Dominic Perrottet, the Liberal Premier, because he's been quite the disappointment for Conservatives?
Oh, he is. He's been bending over for Greenwich. He's been bending over for the job killer, Matt Keane, and yeah, I'm disappointed. He's more disappointed as Gladys and Baird and Raphael. Most of them, they're all just over each other.
Now, obviously, there's two houses in the New South Wales Parliament, the Legislative Assembly, 93 single-member electorates. The party or whatever party can cobble together, if they don't get an outright majority, can cobble together some of the minor parties and independents, 47 for a majority. Then there's the 42-seat Legislative Council, which 21 statewide seats are up this election. It's 8-year terms for the Legislative Council, obviously 4-year fixed terms for the lower house. So 21 of the seats are up. It's
8 years for the upper house. So 8 years for the upper house. So yeah. So 4 years for the lower.
Having trouble hearing you, Reg.
Yeah, it's like 4 years. 4 years for the lower house. Upper house is 8 years.
And so in the upper house, the minor parties, there's obviously the Greens. There is One Nation led by Mark Latham. Then there is the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, though Robert Borsak, his leadership has been, undermined because all of their lower house MPs have walked.
Yeah, I mean, the Shooters Farmers Party, they officially fallen apart. I mean, they did the best of fighting for gun owners and all that, and like for fishers and farmers and all, and they're on their last step. I mean, Robert Borsack's now holding up his lightsaber, trying to defend his seat. I reckon Robert Borsack's gonna probably lose his seat to One Nation or any other party member. I mean, now I support Washington Advance Party, and I really quite liked them because they lowered the age limit on paintball and all that. I would like to see kids get into airsoft and paintball, so just give them an opportunity to have a go.
We've got somebody asking in the chat whether we are going to be covering the the shameful display in Auckland where Kelly J. Keane, aka Posey Parker, Let Women Speak event didn't even get off the ground. She had to be ushered away by security. We've got a participant who was there to facilitate women speaking, but had to rescue women from that baying rainbow zombie mob. We'll come back to you, Reg, in a little while, but now I'm going to introduce, well, my former Trad Tasman Talk host, Due de Boer. Great to see you again, Due. I hope you're all right.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on the show, and it's good to speak with you again and be live on the air. It was a wild day, absolutely wild day today. Thankfully, I was all right, and everyone I was with, no trouble at all. So we had the New Conservative co-leader from Christchurch, Helen Houghton, who was going to speak at the Let Women Speak event, and so we were there to escort her, make sure she was all right, and as it turned out, it was basically a rescue mission. There was a massive mob there, an angry hate mob that had been created by the media and politicians here in New Zealand, and we just got, we were working our way through there when Kelly J was assaulted and dragged away by the police, basically. And all of the other women who were there to speak were left behind in the middle of this gazebo, and they were, you had basically had all of the deranged communist mob pouring in on them, trying to rip the signs out of their hands. Some had let Women Speak signs. They had little badges with the proper definition of a woman, they were just left in the middle there. One woman was struggling with the flag she was holding. Had 5 or 6 people, jumping on her. She was quite a small lady, and you could barely see her under the mob there. So we just jumped in there and pushed everyone away, made as much room as we could, and I just looked around. I sent you like an 8-second clip of everything completely surrounded, and Helen, talked to the women there as best as she could, and encouraged them to come with her. And we just made as much space as we could, and there were about five of us guys there, 5 of us men who had come, and we escorted them out safely. And that was basically all that happened from my perspective there at that event. And just actually very, very sad to see. It's like the death of feminism, basically. I never thought I'd be sad to see feminism die, but it actually felt like
because you're
quite a disgusting
carrying member of the patriarchy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I wasn't there for women's rights, but like we could. It was absolute madness, and that's why they were targeted, right? Is like the feminists who have said, well, the revolution's gone far enough, right? Let's pause the revolution. Thanks for the comments on the beard. And these feminists are like, well, the revolution's gone far enough, right? We've got women's rights. We need to protect women's rights, and they want to keep that. But obviously, the revolution isn't going to stop. The revolution keeps going. It's moved on to the trans agenda, which properly understood is basically a transhuman agenda, right? It's elimination of women, the elimination of men, any distinctions between the two. That you basically feminism created a more gynocentric society, and so to fit into that, you have these men who wish to naturally rise up to their place in the hierarchy, and they become women. So you basically have transvestites, and so the women all have to bow down to the transvestites because it's a gynocentric society. And they it was just actually sad to see. I just almost lost for words just watching watching a hate mob. I've never seen it in my life. I've been at many protests, dealt with communist freaks and pedophile crazies and all of these nasty people before. I've never seen them this angry, never seen them this worked up at feminists. It was just like, it made me feel sick. And I never thought that I'd be like sick at watching feminism die, but it's like been replaced with a far more horrible monster.
What happened in Auckland today, it made what happened in Melbourne last Saturday extremely civil by comparison. We'll play your footage, which is just the crowd, the mob, the zombies, whatever you want to call them, basically invading the gazebo.
A couple of people there filming, didn't want to risk too long on my phone. I had to keep my wits about me there, and just trying to keep an eye on these poor women who were horrified, they were shocked. We had a woman who we helped get out of there, and she was shaken up quite badly. And then another one was actually a Muslim lady, with her hijab and everything on. She was basically sobbing in tears, shaking. She said she'd been in the police protests in Cairo, like the Arab Spring in Cairo in Egypt that she came from. She said she'd never felt so afraid in her life. She didn't feel afraid when she was part of these protests against the government and the police in Cairo. But here in New Zealand, she genuinely felt afraid for her life. And she couldn't handle it because there were no police there. They had... if you've seen, sorry, I didn't send through a clip. I haven't been able to find just a short clip of Kelly J. Keane being taken away by the police.
I've got our own footage here.
Yeah, so before you play that, but basically you've got police there, and then they had like 7 other police that stayed behind. And we talked with them before we went in. We were like, well, what's going on? There's supposed to be police here. And they were like, well, they didn't give us any resources. There's just a bunch of us standing here, and they were standing around the edge of it. And we said, how do we get in? They were sort of like, well, just go for it, right? There's nothing we can do. Get out, go and get who you can, and that's it.
Do you think
they washed their hands of it? I believe that was deliberate, absolutely. I mean, they knew this was going to happen. They had the media and politicians creating a hate mob 3 nights in a row at least, or 2 nights in a row at least on the TV. I think the police basically is like, well, the media and the government have created this. Like, why should we? Who cares, right? We'll wash our hands of this. And that's what they did. And they washed their hands of it. And it was a total riot.
Well, why don't we meet one of the leaders of this mob, Chenille Lull, who's a they, them, but a biological male, who told One News Breakfast yesterday that he was going to protest, despite saying that he feared for his life.
This is the first time I have feared for my own safety. But truthfully, I will not sit at home as Nazis and TERFs steal my right to be who I am. I'm not sitting at home. So although I'm incredibly scared of being there, I will be there. I think the fundamental issue that we have with Posie Parker is that people are looking at her event in isolation from everything else that is happening in Aotearoa. You look at the amount of queer hatred that has been in our country. Last year, Rainbow Youth got burned down in an arson attack. Glory of Greymouth, a pink queer church, was vandalized and a rainbow flag was burnt and staked in their lawn. There are protests outside drag story hours every week. A school is being shut down because they can no longer practice conversion therapy. Queer hatred is at an all-time high. So when you bring someone like Posie Parker into our country, what she does is that it normalizes the hatred towards queer people, and it emboldens people to act on their hate speech.
And extra music there for dramatic effect.
Yeah, the dramatic music. Yeah, I think I think after what I saw
yeah.
today, I have a complete understanding as to why people might hate queer people. It makes total sense to me now, having experienced what they're like. This they them demonic creature. I mean, I saw him. He was up there right in the thick of it, not scared at all. Wearing bright pink. And
let's have a look at him. Fearing for his life.
Yeah, fearing for his life, absolutely. I told him to repent.
He looks absolutely petrified, doesn't he?
Yeah, and just the videos don't do they don't do justice to the insane noise. Like it's a how you might imagine some kind of like Molech worshipping festival would have gone like in terms of the absolute noise that they generate. Like it's almost eardrum bursting. Like I was just walking around with my ears covered the whole time because of just how absolutely just noise. It was just constant eardrum bursting noise the whole time. And so like I said, I was just saying before you played that video, I saw him got up to him to tell him to repent, which I did, but I don't think anybody could hear anything. He didn't look at me. So we'll see. Probably recognized me, but I did my best because I did tell people beforehand. I said, if I run into Chanel, I'm going to tell him to repent. So just so that the people who are watching know that I did do my best to do that when I had the opportunity.
So he's the leader. We call him a he because he is a biological male.
He is a man, and he's not like a tranny or anything like that. He's a bit of a transvestite, basically. He dresses a bit like a woman, and that's about it.
Oh, well,
he's like wearing a woman costume is basically what he does.
Moonlights as a model.
Yeah,
and there's also a columnist for the New Zealand Herald, so hardly silenced, and also a law student.
We witnessed like institutional power. Like, what do these freaks do when they have institutional power? It's like how much effort did they pour into this? Like stopping half a dozen feminists from speaking. Like that's what they do, and when they've got all the power in the world, that's what they feel threatened by. So I'm not. I mean, that doesn't look to me like a movement that has that's on the cusp of victory, or that knows what it's possibly going to do with all of the power that it's got. If you have all of the power in the world, every corporation, every institution, every media company, every politician, everyone bows down to you. And these poor little women trying to talk about feminism completely wiped off the face of the earth. I'm certainly not afraid of them. Just the only thing you really do need to be afraid of is demented freaks rampaging around. It's sort of the I think Mystery Grove talks about communism. Says that the ideology of communism is window dressing. It's basically just freaks who want to destroy everything and make being good illegal. That's all they want to do. It was just very, very sad to watch today and to see these women absolutely shaken up and terrified for their lives, because they were absolutely terrified for their lives. We had if we didn't come in there, I'm not sure they would have been able to get out of that mob. Right, they had to have half a dozen men, Christian men had to come in there. Christian men who don't care much about women's rights had to go in there and rescue them. It's just just sad.
The problem with the gazebo is that it's in the middle of what was the name of the park again?
Well, Albert Park, and it's not in the middle of the park. It's actually on the edge of the park.
It looks easy to surround.
Yeah, it was fairly easy to surround. There's nothing in the park there that's not that easy. That's difficult to surround. But I've done protests in the past where you get these mobs that come up. Like, you can find places in the city there which are more like cornered, but then you just get cornered in and you get surrounded by the mob. I've done that before too. So they'll corner you in and scream at you for hours. But at least you can hold your ground because they can't surround you. But they had, the idea was, I believe, the idea was basically it was supposed to be a police line, right? It was supposed to be a police line.
I didn't see any.
But there was no police line. There was no police line, right? There was supposed to be a police line. That's what you have at events like this, especially when you've got massive mobs threatened. You just have a police line. It doesn't take much. And that's the other thing too. Like I've been at protests before too, where it's like if I turn up, they'll send a police line. But I think because they knew that these were just women, these were just harmless women who would just get beaten into submission. The police didn't bother because like, well, who cares, right? If you have 50 guys who are going to fight back, then they'll give you a police line. But when you've just got a dozen feminists who are up against a raging mob of transvestites, well, yeah, they don't care.
Well, let's look at the moment where Kelly J. Keane, she was assaulted with that red substance, which turned out to be tomato soup. Now, that reminded me of the pieing of Anita Bryant, who was the Save Our Children advocate against gay rights in the 1970s. She was pied quite forcefully in the face by a homosexual activist, and so it reminded me of that.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with that event, so I can't. I think the thing that it reminded me of it was as a copy. It was basically the soup. The tomato soup is a trend that was started by the Extinction Rebellion people. They poured over paintings.
Well, we don't paint. Yeah, so this is the next
paint. Well, they've used soup as well, so I think that's basically soup or paint or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. So. How did she get in so easily? I think so. I actually recognized, like, no, I just after I saw pictures of that woman. We actually saw her in the car park, and she's wearing like pink, like dressed up to look like a feminist. Like she was dressed up to look like an old school feminist. So that's how she basically snuck her way in there. Yeah.
Though when at the Melbourne one, it was very hard to, like, obviously there was like clearly the people watching Let Women Speak, and then there was the socialists, because a lot of them in Melbourne were TERFs, trans exclusionary radical feminists, second wave feminists. They looked quite similar to the socialist. Well, we're not sure if they were women.
No, exactly. Yeah.
I found it,
we actually had this at the protest. We had people would come up to me and be like, I'd be like, oh, it's okay, we have to get these women out, to sorry, and then people would say, oh, yeah, like the real ones, like real women. I mean, like, yeah, real women.
What did Ricky Vijayas called them? Like when he said he's into women, the old-fashioned one, the ones with vaginas.
Yeah, well, sorry. I saw somebody mention here about this woman being intersex or something, which that's mostly made up. Possibly someone who was born with slightly deformed genitalia and had surgery to use the working ones. That's usually what the intersex people are like. So basically she absolutely she would be a woman, I suspect, then, if that was the case. And they just kind of add in this intersex stuff to kind of give themselves a way in to the LGBT, the queer crap there. So it's like it's like half of all LGBT people are bisexual women who only have sex with men. So that's kind of
this is the thing. There's a lot of
you got to come up with some crap. You got to come up with some crap to make yourself part of their community. So I wouldn't put any weight on that. They just make that stuff up to fit in with the crowd. But it was one of New Zealand's most well-known economists, actually Michael Riddell, commented today on this as well. And the police, so specifically, he's talking about this. He described today, and I'll use his term here. He described today as another step closer to a late Weimar thugocracy. So that was sort of late-stage Weimarism is what a well-known economist in New Zealand is describing what we saw today. That's probably maybe the closest to it. You basically have insane decadence and thugs are endorsed at the highest levels, and you only see that when a society is starting to fall apart. So at some point YMR collapses. So that's why there's no we will rebuild from the ashes, but it's just sad to watch everything get ripped apart like this.
Alice Wonderland says, I can't see any NSN, meaning National Socialist Network. There is a white nationalist group in New Zealand, which a couple of members were there in Auckland.
No, so that's what I thought. So actions, I thought that because I saw a couple of them come in at the end when we were working our way out the gazebo. They were just coming in there, and I thought, hey, great, this is what a disaster. But Action Zealandia put out a statement this afternoon where they denounced any association with that, because Action Zealandia said they don't endorse women's rights and Azov, the Azov battalion, because these guys were wearing Azov Ukraine hats. So Action Zealandia is anti-Ukraine and anti-feminist. So they weren't their guys. And the photos as well. One of the guys is brown as well. So nobody knows. There are insane conspiracy theories out there from the left on who these guys actually were. But nobody knows who they were. All we know is they were basically dressed up like Ukrainian Azov battalion guys. So
New Zealand
probably an elaborate prank.
New Zealand doesn't have a swastika ban yet.
No, because you can't do the swastika ban in New Zealand because the mongrel mob, which is a Maori gang, they have the swastika. They tattoo it onto their faces and stuff. So the swastika in New Zealand is a cultural treasure of Maori. So you can't ban it because it would be challenged by the Waitangi Tribunal. So there wouldn't be a swastika ban ever in New Zealand. It's been appropriated by the locals.
Now let's have a look at Kelly J. Keen's escape. This is from a different angle, which shows just how, her security. I think it was Colin in the chat saying, would private security?
No.
Yeah, there wouldn't be enough, I don't think. No matter.
Because that was the issue. They had some private security that backed out. She did have some security. You could see one or two guys there. In the end, it was the police that got her out and some volunteers. If they had planned this a little bit better, they could have had a line of men who would have turned up. Because in the end, the only men who turned up were Christians. We had a bunch of Presbyterians and Roman Catholics trying to protect these feminists. We could have organized a proper line to hold the barricade, because they did have some kind of barricades set up that got knocked down, and there was nobody. You would have had a police line holding the barricades in place, right? And they could have asked for volunteers, could ask for some men to come and hold up the barricades while the women could do their let women speak thing. But I think in the end, it was probably for the best that it turned out the way that it did, because everyone just gets to see how hateful the mob is. Kelly J. Keen gets a massive amount of publicity from this, global publicity, I suspect. Everybody hates New Zealand a little bit more internationally. People see that New Zealand is an absolutely insane country.
Well, that's what she called it, an insane country.
We're a joke country. We're absolutely insane.
Even without Jacinta now.
Yeah. It's taken on a life of its own, and it's absolutely insane. Yeah. But it was very sad today. Just very, very sad.
Next time, get Posey to speak at a Lebanese church, rally the boys for protection. Let's see how tough they are. I'm not sure if you saw what happened when some gay socialists decided to protest outside a Maronite Catholic church in Western Sydney, where Mark Latham was speaking. They were swamped by 500 members, supporters of Christian Lives Matter, and as I said in my article, those gay socialists, FAFO.
Yeah, and this is in such a case, if they'd wanted to run off a better event that was properly protected, they could have had dozens and dozens of good Christian men, perhaps hundreds, sorting out a good support network there. But this leads me to the kind of, I guess, the final thing I wanted to say on this is sort of the death of feminism, and I wanted to say that what they really what they really need, and what I hope many of these feminists realize now, is that that they need the truth. They've got, basically, they're stuck in a spiritual limbo between like the demonic hell mob and a Christian side, the side of heaven, the side of good. And hopefully they can see that, we're willing to welcome them, and if they realize that it's actually all about God and Christianity and Jesus Christ, that they can find faith and salvation from this horrible world that now hates them. I think that's really the only way forward for them, if they want to admit that for them that it's over, right? The 90s liberal dream is over, it's dead. And I hope that they will, instead of falling into despair, that they will realize that there is truth and hope and justice.
So now I'll play Kelly J's great escape. We'll call it great because who knows what would have happened if she didn't get out.
Technical issues, or talking to myself?
So seeing the mob like all around her, like you see how dangerous and threatening this situation would have been.
Yep, I saw a tweet from her just before I hopped on the show here that she said she genuinely felt afraid. She felt like if she tripped up and fell on the ground, that she wouldn't have gotten back up, and that her kids would have lost their mother and her husband would have lost his wife. She thought she was going to die in that moment if she tripped up, which very well, perhaps not. Perhaps they would have been merciful, but I don't know. It's like I said, it was a hate mob. Absolutely horrific stuff. And I've been involved in protest and semi-riot situations here in New Zealand over the years, going all the way back to Lawrence Southern and Stefan Molyneux, and I've never seen anything like this. Never seen anything like this in my life.
And she's cancelled her Wellington Let Women Speak event tomorrow because basically the police said, we're not going to be able to protect you. Which is basically like, we give up.
Well, they don't care. Like I said at the beginning, it's not that they can't. They could pull out the resources at the drop of a hat if they need them. If they need to stomp down some lockdown protesters, they're out in force.
Like even Melbourne managed to keep the peace.
They can stomp your head in, no problem if they need to. Anyway, I see Origin asking here, where was her husband? Well, that's the thing about feminism, right? She doesn't need her husband. But as it turns out...
No, she doesn't call herself a feminist.
Okay, maybe. Okay. Because I have heard saying there's people she's slightly more conservative. But yeah, I don't know. She's like I said, it's not safe for women out there. Just like in the old days, there's a reason why we set up these systems to protect women, because once everybody's equal, suddenly women are not so safe anymore.
And was your wife Amy with you?
No, she wasn't there, and she was home with the kids. And the other guys left their wives and children at home as well. Well, we knew that it wasn't. We knew it was going to be ugly. We just didn't think it was going to be that ugly.
So it wasn't safe for them to even turn up, let alone speak.
No, that's right. No woman got to speak. There was total silence. No women speaking at all. Just like you might expect. What happens when men are in charge. It was a men's only event, so that's why I said, from at least probably from Posey's aspect, from the feminist aspect, is like it was in some sense a victory for them, because yeah, you could see that there's no space for women in the public sphere anymore. It's over for them.
Now, obviously, we had she after her Melbourne event, she had two final stops. The first one was in Hobart, the capital of Tasmania, and she was, well, at least peacefully shouted down at that event. She wasn't attacked. She declared Hobart to be the worst city she had ever been to, and after today, this meme was going around Twitter, supposedly mocking her. Hobart is the worst place I've been to, and has Homer Simpson as Autoria saying worst place you've been so far. And well, at least
that's what the trans cult sees as a win. If you get to see how horrible they are, they get to feel good about themselves. That's really.
And in Canberra, we saw now Independent Senator Lydia Thorpe try to storm the stage and got tackled.
I did see that.
Beautiful.
By
by police, which I mean, it's just the latest in a litany of disgraces. Well, how she's disgraced herself in public, Lydia Thorpe. So it wasn't. She didn't reach a new low. She's already very low in terms of her conduct.
All right. And, sorry, I'm going to wrap up my appearance here for you. I know I've given this update, but it's been a long day for me. But just letting everybody in the chat know as well. I will be out in a couple of minutes, and Tim will get on with the election news. But we'll give it a few minutes for some last comments and any other questions.
And there was obviously that campaign to get her barred from the country, but Australians might not understand that in New Zealand, the immigration minister doesn't have the ultimate power. It's up to the immigration officials.
Yes, and there were several legal challenges. You would usually fail because basically what the immigration department decides is what it is. And so a lot of departments in New Zealand are basically neutral, or supposed to be neutral, where the ministers can't directly interfere in operational affairs, like make decisions. But there is a certain threshold. There are certain issues where if the immigration officials don't believe they can make a clear decision based on the law, then they can refer it to the minister. But in this case, they said, well, there was no reason, there was nothing about her that they had any legal concerns about. There was no legal way to stop her. So that's why it wasn't referred to the minister.
And obviously here in Victoria, we had our Premier Dan Andrews raise the transgender flag at the government offices. And on this coming Monday is D-Day for Moira Deeming to see whether her state leader is successful in expelling her from the party room. He doesn't have the power to expel her from the party itself, just the party room. And he's putting himself deciding this is the thing that he wants to stake his leadership on,
the hill that he's dying on, hopefully,
because he says he wants to lead a modern, inclusive Liberal Party.
Yeah, and this was like in New Zealand as well. So the immigration minister joined the hate mob by saying, she's disgusting, horrible. We condemn her, go after her. So yeah, you had MPs going after her. The National Party has their mouth shut. They are complete garbage. Probably the worst. Like if I were to say if there's any party that in Parliament that is the worst, I would say it would be the National Party in New Zealand, simply because they should do better, and some of them will say better in private, but they won't do it in public. So that makes them the worst of the worst in my eyes.
Chris,
nothing worse than someone who knows what good is and who knows that they could do good and refuses to do it. I think is far worse than the people who are just simply evil and straight up about it.
Chris Luxon, the national leader, said that he supports the trans agenda, but supported her coming in.
Yeah, that was Chris Luxon just absolutely disgusting comments from him there. You know, oh yeah, let her come in, but you know, go and get her trannies and go after her. So asking about the ACT Party. The ACT Party was, did they do like, oh, it's all about free speech and you get to counter protest?
David did condemn the mob.
Yep, he condemned the mob today, but like in the lead up to it, they were like, oh, let's just keep a safe distance. You know, we'll just keep a safe distance, and then afterwards we'll look at how, you know, the bodies are scattered on the ground, and we'll kind of make a comment based on that. Yeah, he wants his cake and to eat it too. That's basically David Seymour in a nutshell.
And you're not like, I know that some of these Let Women Speak advocates say, oh, we're not anti-trans, we're pro-women, but you're open.
I'm anti-trans. I think it's good to be anti-bad things. Like, we shouldn't be afraid to be anti-bad things. So we should absolutely be anti-trans. But I don't care. That's what people want to say that they're not anti-trans. Like, it doesn't help them at all. Just. Somebody saying so, yeah, and obviously you had the Green Party were there, the Labour Party were there, you know, supporting the mob, the hate mob, and somebody saying here that perhaps Young ACT were there. Were they part of the hate mob too? I don't know. Or were they standing up for women? That would be a change. I don't have enough information on that. It was crazy. I've seen tweets and videos from people I know there. I just didn't see them. It was total chaos, complete riot. It was, you know, I ran into quite a few people that I knew, but you just couldn't get people together. And you know, if you did, as soon as you got some good people together, you'd just be accosted by the mob, and you'd have to move on. So just absolutely insane.
Well, thank you for jumping on in the middle of this stream. There's only been 10% of the vote counted in almost 2 hours. So I thought our VC was slow, like Maricopa County in Arizona, the New South Wales Electoral Commission. Yeah, and they're all going to go home at 10:30 at night, which is in about under 3 hours. So,
wow.
Yeah, they'll just...
Maybe they'll have some ballot drops at the last minute and just sort out who wins before they go home. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad I've been able to divert you from the very slow count for just a little bit. I'm going to head off. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and obviously we'll
see everyone.
Talk a bit more closer to your election, where your new Prime Minister, Chris Hipkins, it's the battle of the Chris's, is basically his strategy is to undo all of Jacinta's policies in hope.
Yeah, exactly. He's a populist Labourite. He's turning everything back from everything that was unpopular from Jacinta, which has basically destroyed the National Party's chances at the moment. Because the National Party, they were kind of like, oh, we're opposed to all of the stuff that Jacinta says is bad. So that, you know, for all the stuff Jacinta wants that everyone hates, we're opposed to that. But now that Chris Hipkins has flipped on all of that, what have they got? So it'll be interesting. We will catch up closer to the election. We may have an election night stream again as well. And so I may be back on the show before then, or not, or at election night. So very good to see everybody in the chat, and good night to you all.
Good night. Thank you for joining us.
Good night.
And we've got Kyle Kutasi joining us. Just logging on. Reg, your sound hasn't gotten much better.
On the election here, according to the ABC website,
can't hear all, Reg.
Oh, latest on the lead.
Sorry, Reg.
Yeah, 24.4%, mate. All good.
We've got Kyle joining us now. Kyle, your sound and video is a bit. We can only just hear. Maybe you need to change your settings.
Is that any better?
No, I can still hear the interference. If you go to your StreamYard settings, and just check the audio.
The audio is on my microphone works.
We're getting lots of interference.
automatically jump mic volume?
Yeah.
Is that better?
No, it's still getting all that interference.
There's nothing else going on.
Yeah, try going into your settings, like on the screen,
I'm in those settings.
Yeah. If you can choose a different mic. We'll try and bring Kyle back. Just get him to choose see if a different microphone. It's not the internet that's the issue at the moment. I think in New South Wales, it's the microphone quality here. Obviously, there has been unreliable power in the last 24 hours with the lights going off at the Gabba. So hopefully the whole internet holds up tonight with there being more football games. Still maybe so we might get Kyle to log off and then log back in. So what shall we do in the meantime? Why don't we play a filler clip? That's what always does well. Of course, if you rewind 4 years ago, the 2019 New South Wales state election, it was Gladys Berejiklian up against Michael Daly. We'll see if see if you can log in on mobile phone. That might be better. But yes, it's just not it's just not our night sound wise. So we had 2019, we had Gladys Berejiklian re-elected as Premier against the then Labor opposition leader, Michael Daly, who basically his election campaign fell apart in the last week when there was footage leaked of him saying that our people are being replaced by Asians with PhDs, and this was 2 weeks after the Christchurch massacre, when Brenton Tarrant had written in his manifesto about the Great Replacement. So then, after the election, Jodie McKay, she was elected the Labor leader. Then there was obviously the Black Summer bushfires, and then there was obviously the COVID pandemic. So, which obviously defined her leadership, and of course during the second Greater Sydney lockdown, and which encompassed the whole of New South Wales at one stage in 2021, she got very authoritarian.
Is this any better?
Kyle? Yes, that's much better. It's a better photo as well. Are you holding it in your hand?
I am.
Okay, is that going to be too I'm going to get sore?
We'll do our best, mate. I can't really do much about that. I don't know why my computer setup's not going too well, but anyway, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, we had Reg Penney before his mic is blown as well. So it's just not our night with the audio, it seems. So we just had Dewey DeBoer from Auckland telling us what happened there with Kelly J. Keane. So maybe it's a New South Wales thing tonight. Everyone's streaming and doing things from there.
Maybe. Oh well, how's everything going?
Well, I'll just check that Labor, this is from both The Guardian and Labor, expected to form government. It's just not clear yet if they can govern in a majority. So let's go to the ABC vote count. So 14.5% counted, and it's a 2% swing to the Labor Party. It is a 5.5% swing away from the Liberals, 0.3 percent away from the National, nearly 1% away from the Greens, minus 1.3% for the Shooters, 0.3% for One Nation, but that's only in the lower house. And so Labor's won 36, Liberals 15, National 11, and others 5. So I'll just ask for your reaction so far, because you are pretty vocal on your Facebook page about what you thought of the Liberals' election campaign. They didn't want your help. They expelled you for I don't know what reason.
Never do I.
And our audience might be interested to know that you were at Dom's most talked about 21st birthday party.
I was. It was a long time ago now, but yes, I was there. I wasn't dressed as a Nazi either. I can assure you.
What was your costume?
Mate, it's embarrassing to say. I was dressed as a Balmain Tigers player. It's about as embarrassing as it gets.
I saw that in the one of the Daily Telegraph reports, it mentioned some of the other costumes, and it said somebody dressed as wore a Balmain Tigers jersey, and I was thinking, yeah, that was probably Kyle.
That was the full kit, mate. Shorts, socks, a whole lot, even headgear.
Well, obviously, 20 years later, it's the most inoffensive thing you could wear to a fancy dress.
No, that's right. I might as well just put a big L on my forehead. But anyway, so look, you're quite right. I was on the state executive of the Liberal Party until December. Me and a few other people were all chucked out at the same time for unexplained reasons. Apart from, you're too annoying. You're trying to push us in the direction that we don't want to go. And that direction was that we had no candidates at the time, and all the candidates they wanted to run were all straight from Teal Central Casting. They wanted to shaft good candidates so they could impose bland people who are of particular genders or particular ethnicities. And we said, we've got no problem with women or people of particular ethnicities. They should win a pre-selection like everyone else. And many of them did. But for some reason, we call it the cabal. It's a group. It's not a left-right thing. It's a group of, I guess you'd call it a corrupt inner core of MPs and party apparatchiks that came to dominate this government, and they've screwed it. And all their preferred candidates look like they're getting whacked at the moment, which is very sad. Very sad that it came to that. And they'll be out of office now for a minimum of 8 years, possibly more. Which is, again, it's very sad. Didn't need to come to this.
Let's have a look so far at the seats that are confirmed to changing hands. You'll know these geographic areas more than me. So East Hills.
Yeah, East Hills was sitting on a point, I think 1% margin. Now, if any went, it would have been the first one to go.
And we've got, the National Party retained Monaro at the 2022 by-election, but it looks like Labor is going to pick that up.
That's a shock, because Monaro Monero's the area basically north of the Victorian border up to Queanbeyan and around the eastern side down to Bega. It's mostly rural area with the exception of Queanbeyan. The Nats have generally were expected to do relatively well in this election. So that's interesting. I haven't seen that result yet. But if they're losing Monero, I can tell you this is not even going to be close, Tim. This is going to be a bloodbath. If they're losing Monero, I'm looking at some of the results here. I'm looking at counted in Oatley. That's an 8% Liberal seat. At the moment, there's an 8.2% swing to the ALP. If that ends up happening across the board, Labor wins a comfortable majority in its own right.
So we'll go to Penrith. That Stuart Ayres, the former deputy Liberal leader who had to resign the deputy Liberal leadership unfairly over the John Barilaro New York Trade Commissioner role. Also, fun fact, he's the partner of Maurice Payne, the Liberal senator and former foreign minister. He's gone now.
Yeah, look, 5% swing there I'm looking at on the ABC. That's sad. That's really sad. One of the better performers. Yeah. When the swing's on, the swing's on. Sorry, go on, Tim.
And Ryde, that's in sort of the inner central north around Chatswood. So a lot of Asian people live there.
Yeah, to the west of Chatswood, it's actually it's the eastern end of the old electorate of Bennelong, which was John Howard's electorate. You're right; it is very Chinese. So is Epping, which is Dominic Perrottet's own seat. And I think we should actually go back and have a look at that later, because I think you'll find
it is very close.
I think you'll find he's going to be in a bit of trouble as well. Looking here at, according to the ABC, 10% swing to the ALP in Ryde. Now, this is really fascinating because in Ryde, the Liberal candidate was the mayor himself. So a guy who had a high profile, wasn't an unknown, and Labor only brought in their candidate 6 weeks ago after the previous candidate was dumped for allegedly being involved in domestic violence. So, the Labor campaign was a mess. And if they've got a 10.7% swing, I mean, that's mind-blowing in those circumstances. It really is.
We'll go down to the seat of the South Coast, which is, as its name suggests, on the south coast of New South Wales. So this is
it's based around Nowra and Bateman's Bay. That's basically where that seat is based. That seat's been held by the Liberal Party since 1995, and it's showing here, according to the ABC, with 55% voted, counted. It's showing a 15.6% swing to Labor. And that totally blows my mind. Totally, this stuff is epic. It's truly epic. And
the seat of Wakehurst, which is Brad Hazzard, the retiring health minister. Good riddance. Later in the stream, we've got a special tribute to Brad Hazzard that we're going to air. So this independent who's projected to win, Michael Reagan, he's not a Teal, is he?
No, but he is. He was. The Teals didn't run anyone against him.
So it was strategically so the Liberals would lose.
He's Teal aligned. I think what you'll find he will do in Parliament is he'll try to be a bit like Allegra Spender. He'll pretend to be sort of Liberal aligned just enough to make sure he doesn't lose the seat. I mean, by the way, the Premier told me on the 30th of November last year that they'd given up on Wakehurst already. And that was 16 days before he got me expelled from the party. But they basically weren't trying very hard in that seat because they believed they couldn't beat the independent.
And it looks like the ABC's just called Woolen Dilly, which the Liberal candidate who's behind Nathaniel Smith, he's actually very conservative. So he's losing to, is this a Teal independent, Judy Hannon?
So I find this one, I'm looking, I think that ABC's jumped the gun on this. If you look at the primary votes, and keep in mind that only 40, how much has been counted so far? It's hard for me to tell. 13% counted.
Yeah.
13% counted is very early days. Judy Hannon is pulling 25%. She's not a Teal. Labor's pulling 20%. I'm not down there, so I don't know what the preferences are. But often people just vote one, and One Nation's 10%, and not many of those are going to flow to Judy Hannon if they flow anywhere at all. I think that's remarkably early call to rule out someone on the basis that they have 37% of the first preference votes. And he's only down 1.4% on primaries. I think that's garbage. I mean,
maybe it's the AI of the ABC is biased against him, because we know that ChatGPT, that AI software, has a SJW bias. Maybe it's made its way into Anthony Green's computer system. That it's.
I think. Well, I think that the ABC system struggles to deal with 3 or 4 corner contests, which that is. It overstates the flowing of preferences, and I think they've jumped the gun. To be perfectly frank with you, Labor wasn't even trying down there. They put an 18-year-old candidate in as which means that they're not serious about the election campaign. I don't think he's going to lose, and at 13.1% counted, I think it's way too early to be able to say that. ABC's jumped the gun there. He may still end up losing, but I can't say that on the basis of a 13% count.
Why don't we have a look at, a Dominic Perrottet's deputy, who many people believe is the puppet master? Or
can I say, by the way, there's two seats that you it's not a criticism because you're not from New South Wales. There's 2 you've actually missed as well, because they're notionally Labor seats, so they're actually Liberal held, but because of the redistribution, the ABC computer shows them as Labor seats.
Oh, which seats are those?
So if you have a look at Heathcote, that's declared with an 8.3% swing to the ALP, and the other one is Leppington, which hasn't been declared yet, but it's showing Labor ahead, according to the.
Although that's quite close. Although it is, how much is counted on Leppington?
15%. So it's still very early.
Yeah, but I was going to go to Matt Keane's seat of Hornsby, which.
Sorry, I jumped you.
That's all good. You're the local expert. So yeah, Matt Keane has had 11% swing. There's been a swing to 5% swing to Labor, 4% to the Greens, but looks like he's still going to be pretty comfortable. This is with 28.8% counted and 8.9% swing to the ALP. Do you think he'll be leader after tonight, or will Dom want to hang around? What's your take?
Fascinating question. I believe that the reason that the party has been getting sabotaged for the last year was because Keane wanted to ensure that his friends survived in Parliament. He didn't want people from Western Sydney or the regions. He wanted people from the North Shore. And that's why the campaign has been completely focused on countering the Teals and sacrificing chances of actually winning the election. There's no doubt in my mind he will be running for the leadership. Dominic Perrottet's not going to hang around. Whether he stays and serves out a full term on the backbench, or whether he goes to a by-election, I don't know. But he's not going to put his hand back up for the leadership. No way. Keep be interested. I know he has competitors. I hear rumours that Alistair Henskins, who's the member for Wahroonga, is putting his hand up. I understand that Mark Speakman, who's the member for Cronulla, may be putting his hand up. I don't know. That's just
these people, are they, what is it, conservatives, moderates? How do you classify each?
It's an interesting question you ask. I mean, Mark Speakman's factionally aligned with the left, but he's relatively okay by comparison. Henskins is not really factionally aligned, but he's not really a lefty. I mean, Speakman and Henskins are much of a muchness in different ways. They're both, interestingly enough, senior counsel, so senior barristers, which is just a strange coincidence of history. But I mean, there's really no one else to put their hand up other than them or Keane. I can't see anyone else running for the leadership.
Do you think there'll be any reflection? Dom will have any reflection on, well, there's the question of, did he have values, conservative values, to sell out in the first place? I know I noticed a bit of debate on your status there, but he obviously had, when he was elected Premier after Gladys resigned, that he's a conservative Catholic he had then 6 children. Then he announced that his wife Helen was pregnant with a 7th, and is a member of the Opus Dei sect. Well,
he's not actually a member of Opus Dei. His parents are, but he's not.
But yeah, that was the image that was first bandied around on social media. Or we're getting this far right conservative Catholic as premier, when he's been extremely left wing on almost every issue when it comes to, well, obviously energy policy. He signed the state unilaterally up to the Indigenous voice referendum. He's pledged to outlaw so-called gay conversion therapy. I mean, you could probably think of a few other leftist policies that he's embraced.
Oh, mate, the worst is all the stuff about energy policy here. The fact that in 2 years' time, I think it is, we don't have any more coal-fired power generators in New South Wales. So basically, all of our power is supposed to come from unicorn farts, and it's going to mean power prices are just simply going to go through the roof. We're not going to have any reliable power source. We're going to get used to greyouts and blackouts, and just so we can say we complied with some international green obligation. This is why people are voting against us. There's no doubt about it. I mean, this stuff might play well to the voters of Hornsby and Wakehurst, but it doesn't work for Western Sydney, and that's where we win and lose elections.
It looks like that the blackout at the Gabba last night could be just the first of many sporting game blackouts. I mean, it annoyed me as a Brisbane Lions supporter because, well, it turned out that the delay in the game means that we almost lost from 40 points down with 12 minutes to go. But maybe the Broncos versus the Dolphins used up all the power earlier in the evening.
I wish I could talk to you more about AFL. It's not really my
I know. I'm just talking about, you're an NRL fan. I'm saying the lights could go out there as well.
They could. They certainly can. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Back on the, Tim, one of the interesting things I'm noticing is, and it's not come as a surprise because most of the polls were predicting it would go this way. The swings, if you have a look at the seats in Western Sydney and the regional areas, are much, much, much smaller than they are in the city areas, which is...
give me a seat to bring up.
Okay, so if you look on the ABC at the changing seats, if you're looking, for example, at Penrith, which is only 3.3% swing to the ALP, that's a Western Sydney seat. Whereas if you're looking at, say, Ryde, 10.9% inner city, that's quite mind-boggling. And then if you look at all seats, if we go down to, for example, sorry, I'm scrolling through them here. Look at Castle Hill, 13% swing to Labor. I mean, the Libs won't lose that because of the size of the margin, but it's a pretty monumental swing. You go a bit further, Coogee, 13% swing to ALP. We only lost that seat in 2019. Go a bit further. Davidson, 9.3% to the ALP. Again, safe Liberal seat's not going to go. Drummoyne, 11.6% swing to ALP. We may lose Drummoyne on that swing. Epping, 9.2% swing to ALP. Dom Perrottet is only up 2% at the moment on those.
Oh.
On those. The inner city swings are monumental.
That is quite an interesting development. Like, why do you think that is so? That there's sort of the sort of more upper middle class areas of Sydney. Why do you think that is so?
They've sold out their traditional voter base. It's all about unicorn farts and taxes, new taxes, higher taxes, spending more. Small business people don't want this sort of stuff.
And so they're voting for Labor.
No, I think they're voting for One Nation. If you look at them, I'll give you an example.
One Nation is not running in all the seats; they're only running in about 17.
So in Hornsby, they've picked up 7%. But look as well, Liberal Democrats have got 4%. So that's a combined broad right vote there of 11%. 11%. That's the entire swing against Matt Keane in Hornsby. Let's pull another one. Let's look at Kellyville. There's a 15% swing there. Again, Liberals will win that. We'll hold on to that comfortably. Now there, One Nation's not running. There's no Liberal Democrats running. That's just Labor's just picked that straight up. So they're going, we're not voting for you anymore.
And I know there's been a lot of emphasis that the campaign has been very gentlemanly, with Dom Perrottet and Chris Minns saying, "Oh, we like each other. We just want we just want to be premier." I mean, from an outside point of view, with Daniel Andrews, who has the thug bully political kill mentality, and obviously the Liberal opposition, while they try to be tough, but they're more like pipsqueaks. Like, looking up there, it's a bit more refreshing. But what is it? How have you seen it? Like that? It's sort of this sort of gentlemanly contest.
Yeah, I don't think that's a massive issue of why people vote or don't vote for a particular leader. I think they did focus far too much on trying to make Dom a presidential type campaign. Everything's become about him in recent times, and then as of this morning, I saw the news poll said that he was no longer even the preferred premier. Chris Minns had taken over as a preferred premier, which then says, well, why did you run a strategy of Dom? He's not that popular, apparently, according to the news poll. Now, I don't dislike Dominic Perrottet. I thought, it was a better option than Gladys Berejiklian. I would have thought that if they really wanted to win this election, they would have had to repudiate everything that was done during the COVID period, and that just wasn't done. And there were people waiting to, in my view, take a baseball bat for what they did.
One of our commenters, Colin, has where's it? The comment's gone, but ask about the upper house, and here it is here. How the Liberal Democrats will go, because the lead candidate is an ex-Liberal in John Ruddock. He wrote the book "Make the Liberal Party Great Again," but decided it couldn't be made great, and so he has been with the Liberal Democrats last couple of years.
Mate, if they pull 6% of the vote like they did in Hornsby, that'll be enough for him to get elected. But if that's got to replicate across the state, I don't know.
There is no results so far for the upper house. The ABC has said there will only be limited results tonight, but obviously everyone's predicting that One Nation, led by Mark Latham, will at least get 2 seats. But there's quite the wide variety of parties, both on the left and the right. So you've got the Group A, which is Lyle Shelton, Family First supported. Group B, Craig Kelly, United Australia Party supported. And then down there, the bottom, Group U, Ricardo Bossi, Australia One aligned. What do you make of Ricardo Bossi? He's quite, to put it politely, down. He's gone quite down the rabbit hole.
I've never met the guy. I don't know a lot about what he stands for, or what he says. All I saw was a couple of weeks ago him having some rant about Khazar Jews, and I went, all right, I'm switching off now. That sort of stuff doesn't really turn me on.
Well, in the 2019 federal election, he was Australian Conservatives' number 2 Senate candidate in New South Wales. Sophie York was obviously number 1. And he, like, when I interviewed him in 2019, we launched Australia One Party, it didn't give me any indication that obviously the COVID lockdowns did a lot to people, and it has sent him down this sort of rabbit hole.
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of people that COVID sent down the rabbit hole. Unfortunately, it's made a lot of people go a bit nutty. I'm completely 100% on board the freedom movement in respect of that. But unfortunately, some people have just taken it a bit far, and it's turned into Jewish and Bilderberg conspiracy theories, which anyone spending time around government knows that there's no conspiracies. They're just complete imbeciles who can't organise a chook raffle, and that's why stupid things get done, because they're stupid people.
Well, that's the one of the classic libertarian public choice positions, that it's not a conspiracy. People in government are just stupid, and they're driven by polls. That's all there is to it, which goes a long way to explain why they reacted they did to COVID in becoming tyrants.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely agree. Let's have a look, see if there's been any updates. Let's see. According to the ABC, what's changing?
Yeah, I'll bring it up again. Holsworthy.
Yeah, we've already Holsworthy. Well, that's a shame. That was Melody Gibbons got replaced at a pre-selection there by Tina Ayad. I thought she was a great candidate. Sadly, she's getting wiped out by the swing. That's the way it goes sometimes. When the swing's on, the swing's on.
ABC has called Parramatta for Labor.
And again, that's another one. Katie Mullins, fantastic candidate, and for the Liberal Party. And that was one of the ones that I got expelled for. Katie Mullins was waiting. She'd been the sole candidate for 4 months, and head office refused to endorse her. They ended up endorsing her 6 weeks ago. She could have been on the ground running back in August last year. And for whatever reason, they deliberately nobbled her. And she's lost.
Peak Ozyman has said the whole Pride thing really sealed the deal on me not voting for Dom. Here in Sydney in February, I mean, we like Coles in Victoria had all of the stuff, but what was it like in Sydney itself?
It was pretty much dominated everything for a whole month. It really did. Quite interesting. And look, I didn't think of that, but I mean if you lived in Western Sydney, you didn't see very much of that. If you're in the inner city, you got smothered with it. It may have had something to do with it. May have, yeah. Very.
I noticed that the ABC.
No, cut you off. Go on. You go on. Sorry.
Oh, the ABC has just taken away I've forgotten how to pronounce it. Willendy.
Wallandilly.
Yeah.
I remember I called that 15 minutes ago. I said I'm very surprised if that stays that way.
Where did you want to go now?
I'm just going to go roll through them and just see if there's any surprises.
All right, we'll go through all the seats.
There's not much county in Camden. I'd expect that there's problems in Camden. I'd watch that closely. East Hills, 34% county, and there's only a 0.6% swing. That's remarkable that Wendy is is doing that well.
That's been
keep-
taken away from the changing hands as well.
I keep watching that. Goulburn, 40% counted. Lib only down 2%. Again, I find that quite remarkable. I'd watch that. I expected that to be one of the earliest ones to go. Kiama is a very interesting seat. Again, this was one where Gareth Ward, the sitting member, was a Liberal. He was disendorsed because he got charged with raping a child. I've got to say, he hasn't gone to court yet. He's entitled to a presumption of innocence. Despite that, he decided he wanted to run as an independent, and the Liberal Party was absolutely convinced that he would win as an independent. So they really didn't run anyone against him. They put up a nominal candidate. I remember the arguments at State Executive where I said, guys, no one's going to vote for someone who's accused of raping a child, whether he did or he didn't. No one's going to vote for him. And according to this, he's had a 15% swing against him. Wow, there's a real shock there.
Yeah, that's quite incredible.
Yeah, this is the way. These are the geniuses, mate. Lane Cove, 12% swing there. I mean, that Anthony Roberts, who's the Minister for Planning, he's in real trouble there if he's only up by 3%. That was one I'd keep watching.
Which seat?
Miranda, that's Lane Cove.
That's one of
Miranda.
the seats that is under threat by the Teals.
Correct. But this is on a two-party preferred count. So this is an interesting three-cornered contest where and this one might come down to which one lands above the other one. If the Teal finishes above Labor, I'd say the Teal will probably not get up. If the Teal finishes below Labor, their preferences will probably go to Labor, and Labor might get up. So that's a really interesting one, and I'd say that the ABC computer probably doesn't know how to deal with that. So I wouldn't consider that one done. Miranda, Eleni Patinos leading by 0.4% on a 14% swing against her. Now that's one that no one saw coming. No one saw that coming at all.
Didn't she have to resign from the ministry last year?
She was dumped from the ministry, yeah.
I didn't lose pre-selection.
No. No one ran against her. That's, wow, 14%. No one saw that one coming.
Can we go back up to Liverpool? Yeah. Did you? There's a 14 as it. Well, I'll go into it. There's a 16.6% swing to the Liberal Party
in Liverpool. After how much has been counted?
13.7%.
Early days.
But yeah, that's the big anomaly there. Manly. So that's where James Griffin is up against a Teal, Jolene Hackman.
Yep. How's he going?
So 50 is 52.5 two-party preferred.
So that's pretty close. But again, I don't reckon the ABC computer can't deal with independent and Teal candidates. It doesn't. The model's not built for it. You got Oatley. Oatley's showing a 7.6% swing to Labor, which is enough to give them that seat. That's the multiculturalism minister, Mark Curray. But again, it's 0.8%. Anything can happen there. That's close. Pittwater, the Teal is leading there, 22.9% swing, but very closely leading. Again, this is another one. Rory Amon was a decent candidate on the local council. He was the sole candidate for 6 months. The Liberal Party didn't want him. They kept trying to reopen nominations. They kept trying to have someone else. They wanted a woman because apparently only women can beat Teals, according to the Liberal Party's head dickheads. And they dragged the chain on him, and he was only endorsed 6 weeks ago. If he'd been in the field 6 months earlier, who knows? Who knows how he would have done? Certainly would have done better than he has.
So go Summit.
Terrigal. No one expected this. The Liberal Party's down 1.2% with a 13% swing. No one saw that one coming.
How much has
No one saw
been
that one.
counted so far?
According to the ABC, 35%.
So that's going to be close.
So Terrigal, for those who don't know, is on the Central Coast as you're heading up towards Newcastle.
And all clues. Looks like let's see how much counted. The Kelly Sloan from the Liberal Party is way ahead of the Teal Karen Fryer. So she was the one who had the train wreck interview with Chris O'Keefe on 2GB. The Teals haven't been in my opinion, that good a quality at the New South Wales state election. They had that press conference together where they acted like a bunch of Karens in front of the media.
Yeah, Kelly Sloan's won that comfortably, and that was one where the Independent was expected to do a lot better. Kelly Sloan, you got to remember, used to be known as Kelly Connolly. You might remember that name. She was a Channel 9 newsreader. I think she did the Today Show. So she's a seasoned media performer. And obviously that's shown up in the way she's handled the media compared to her competitors. So well done to her. It shows you at the end of the day that good candidates. Now I've got to say, Kelly Sloan fought a properly contested pre-selection that went down to the wire. She had to fight every step of the way. Unlike a lot of these candidates that are getting whacked, she won it on her own merit, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
And that Vaucluse overlaps with the seat of Wentworth, which of course is now held by Allegra Spender. So that's a good win.
Correct. Yeah, she's probably the one winner of the night so far that I can see. She's one who's outperformed expectations. So well done to Kelly Sloan. Go on. Sorry.
Let's look at Willoughby, which is Gladys's old seat. Tim James won at the by-election last year. It's close.
Yeah, look, he won at the by-election by 3%. He's running against the same independent. The swing that you're seeing here is against the 2019 result. It would probably be better if they're showing us a comparison with the by-election, because that will really show us what's changed and what hasn't changed. Hard to say. Again, three-cornered contest. I think the fact that Labor didn't run at the by-election has probably also screwed up the ABC's computer. They don't know how to handle it. But he's in trouble. There's no doubt about that. And Tim James is a good member. It'll be one that'll be very sad to see lose if he loses.
Why don't we go back to the live results tally? So the ABC, they've called 46 for Labor, which has given them 10 extra seats. The Liberals have lost 11. They're on 14. Nationals lost 1. They're on 11. The Greens have retained 2 so far, and then the others 8%, which is all the ex shooters and fishers, and Alex Greenwich and the new Teal members. And so that's with 31% counted. It's 55-45 two-party preferred to Labor. So basically the news poll was pretty spot on, as it was in the Victorian state election in the final one before polling day.
They did predict it. Yep. They got it right. Interesting. Looks like Green's holding on to Balmain, from what I can gather. That's Green's holding on to Ballina, which is up on the that's basically the seat that covers Byron Bay.
Yeah. So the Balmain, it has the Greens member Jamie Parker retiring. Like the Greens have held it so long that 12 years that they now have a member who's retiring.
Correct. Yeah, that's almost become a permanent Green seat now. I mean, much the way, Melbourne Ports, for example, has, or if I've got that one right.
No, Melbourne.
Newtown's
right? Even more green. Jenny Leong.
Yeah.
She's maintained the party's grip on that seat.
Newtown's as green as things get, mate. It's so green the cows are eating it. That's how green that place is. I once worked on a polling booth in Newtown. The Liberal Party got 4% of the vote on primaries. If that gives you some idea of how bad. That's where people spit on you and throw shit at you when they walk past. It's pretty bad.
Oh, there was Maronite Catholics who visited one Friday night reciting the Lord's Prayer. That was quite an unusual sight in Newtown.
Yeah, they wouldn't see much of that.
So Thomas P. Crenshaw has said, do you think the flip was anything to do with the community punishing the government because of the COVID lockdowns mandates? If so, why didn't we see the same thing in Victoria last year?
Well, because the Libs there were weekly on board the COVID nonsense. Now, the Labor Party here's kept their mouth shut. That's what they've done correctly.
I mean, Dom took over like just before the 2021 second extended lockdown ended. Though he, when Omicron came, he went along with the prevailing health advice at the time, and Kerry Chant was still by his side. She's re-elected. Well, she's been in that job since 2008, so yeah, she'll be there regardless of who wins tonight.
Yep, she will. She's got the sort of the Fauci thing going about her. Everyone, all the lovies think she's wonderful.
Although she's not as bad as our chief health officer down here, Brett Sutton, otherwise known as Bambi. I mean, I would say he's like when it comes to advocating, like he's still going on about masks and ventilation down here, while Kerry Chant is just sort of quiet.
Kerry Chant, yeah. Yep, mate. I'm going to have to jump off after, but it's pretty clear. Labor has won, and has won comfortably, and we'll have a working majority without the need for the crossbench for the next 4 years at the very least.
Well, thank you for jumping on and giving us your expertise, both of the electoral map and the demographics, and also what's happened to the Liberal Party. And yeah, we'll see how they can rebuild, period, across Australia, because there'll be no Liberal governments on mainland Australia. And well, the Premier in Tasmania, Liberal Premier Jeremy Rockcliffe, is pretty far left. I mean, he wants to change the date of Australia Day. So basically, it's wall-to-wall left-wing governments.
Well, they were left-wing governments, Liberal or Labor, to be perfectly frank.
Yes. At least Dom didn't want to get rid of Australia Day.
No, but he put an Aboriginal flag on the Harbour Bridge instead of the Australian flag. I mean, the same wokeism is infected all of them. I mean, that's another conversation for another day, I suppose. But we can have that one next time.
Yep. I think there'll be certainly a lot more to say in the future. The year is still young. There's not another election, state or territory for a while. There'll be the voice referendum in October. But yeah, what is it? Elections have consequences, and we'll be learning about, well, you will in New South Wales. New South Wales people will be learning about that for the next 4 years.
Completely agree. Mate, thank you as always. It's always good to talk with you, mate. I wish
Likewise.
have fun Bye, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, everybody, might take a intermission now. As we mentioned, Brad Hazzard, the health minister, is retiring. He has been in Parliament for 32 years, since 1991. He's in his 70s now. His seat is going to be lost to an independent. And of course, Brad Hazzard, he was one of the biggest COVID tyrants. It was sort of a tie between him and Dan Andrews, who had the worst temper when it came to lecturing and hectoring the public. But since his political career is over, we're going to have an intermission. This goes for 13 minutes. I made this compilation of Brad Hazzard's moments during the COVID pandemic as a farewell to him.
This is a world pandemic. It's a 1 in 100-year event. So you can expect that we will have transmission from time to time, and that's just the way it is. We've got to accept that this is the new world order. I heard the leader of the opposition, the temporary leader of the opposition, actually being a complete pork chop out there today. Quite stupid. So you've got to say, oh, the cakes weren't quite right, or this wasn't quite right.
Please
quite
just stupid. Seat for the moment.
We should all wait with bated breath for you to leave and somebody else to come along. The other area of danger is the place that we would normally consider to be the safest place on earth, our homes. You've already heard today that one of, or a number of the people who've actually now got the virus, got it in a home situation. And we'll hear more detail about that in due course. But it is both a safe place and a dangerous place. We must treat this new world order, this new world of COVID, we must treat this new world of COVID, even in our own homes, with a high level of care and caution.
The question is, do we or don't we have enough face masks?
You certainly need one. Just be quiet, seriously. Oh, for heaven's sakes. You wouldn't fit into... Anyway, no, it'd be nice. When I was a teacher many years ago, there were a couple of kids in the class like you, and normally they went down to 6 pretty quickly, because that's what you should be doing. Carrying on like that, that's just stupid. If I was sitting next to someone like you in a bus, I would definitely have a mask on. I have heard reports of, at some weddings, people have chosen to ignore the limit of 20 people dancing, the bridal party and whoever are acknowledged as being in the bridal party, and an expectation that they can all get up there and dance. Unfortunately, dancing, singing is amongst the most dangerous things you can do with this rather evil virus. But if you actually choose to ignore the rules and you put your fellow visitors, fellow attendees at the wedding at risk, that is just completely and woefully inappropriate. You are as irrelevant as you will ever be. Seriously, you are clearly irrelevant. Very frustrating and very annoying. Now, what we are finding is that some of the visitors to various venues still think that it's funny to be putting in there that you're Donald Duck or Mickey Mouse or a false phone number. That must stop. This is a worldwide COVID pandemic, and thinking it's smart to call yourself Donald Duck or Mickey Mouse is about as stupid as it gets. This is getting a bit ridiculous. You're holding us up here while we should be doing the work that we need to do, while you tell us...
Minister.
The one thing we do know is this virus, this COVID virus is like a guerrilla fighter. It comes out when you least expect it, which is why we need to do all the things that we've been doing for the last 15 months. QR codes are the weapon that we have to fight back with. Last year we talked about this particular virus when it first came to our shores as being obviously dangerous, but it wasn't a long jumper and it wasn't a high jumper. This Delta variant, the Delta variant of the COVID virus, is actually a gold medalist when it comes to jumping from one person to another. It is a long jumper. It reminds you that we have volunteered to come here. We don't acknowledge that you have the capacity to have us here. We've come here to try and assist, and we're going to give you the information you need. So,
thank you, Minister. I think the context is useful.
The first speaker said this wasn't in some sort of
Minister,
All you're trying to do is carry on like... Last Saturday, I indicated that what we knew about this Delta virus and the transmission at Westfield at Bondi Junction could be described as a near and present danger. What I would say to our community is we've gone from that near and present danger to a very real and present danger. I know just this morning, talking with our Chief Health Officer and her advisors, I was informed that at least one scientific paper says that this particular variant is almost 1,000 times more infectious.
The committee has endeavoured to ensure this is an even-tempered exchange of information.
Well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? It just seems to me that...
Excuse me, Minister, can I just stop you there? Minister, we're not trying to catch you out. There's no trick here. We're specifically asking very important advice from the public health officials and from Dr. Chant.
I'm trying to help.
I'd just
spend more time than it would have taken me to explain it, Penny. I'll go back to what I was saying. On the 25th of June,
Minister, I have questions for Dr. Chant that I'd like to get through, and I would really like it if you would allow her to answer those, please.
Well, I'll answer that. You might remember
the question was put to Dr. Chant, and if you would allow Dr. Chant to answer.
I will answer the question that I'm now talking about. Thank you. I mean, not up to you to determine who's going to answer the questions. I'm the minister, and I'll answer it. It's almost a sense now of the Hunger Games of people chasing vaccine, and until we get enough vaccine and enough GPs actually at the front line able to provide that vaccine into arms, we will continue to have effectively the Hunger Games going on here in New South Wales. As a colleague who is normally very careful in your words, can I say that you're putting words into Dr. Chant's mouth, and that's not at all fair.
Minister, our time's about to expire. Can I just ask one final question?
I'm sorry. Either I get to finish the answers or I'm not going to bother. Seriously. James.
Minister Hazard, how damaging is it for the public's perception of the state government's vaccine rollout that New South Wales Health, your department, accidentally vaccinated about 160 Joey's boys, and how embarrassed are you?
What I find more embarrassing, James, is that you would make that sort of question accusation against frontline health staff who work their butts off and who tomorrow will have achieved a million vaccinations into arms. You know what? The school intended it well, there was a mistake, and so what? It's happened. Out of 1 million vaccinations, move on. I'm sorry, if you haven't been listening, that is not our issue.
I'd just like to ask one question to Dr. Chant before our time expires.
Well, finish the answer to my question.
And
your question is out of order and wrong. So could I perhaps clarify? And a waste of time.
Minister, I'm just going to ask one question to Dr. Chant.
I'm telling you, we take the advice.
No, Minister, you cut me off midway through what I was asking.
I want to stress that to the mums and dads, your children will be well looked after inside when they arrive. They'll be literally ushered. We'll have nurses, we'll have some of the youth command, we'll have some of the young police from the various operations within police there just to guide them through as to where they go. They'll be looked after every moment inside the stadium, and they'll be well cared for. So mums and dads feel secure. We've got about 24,000 students we're aiming to get through next week. The messages will come out this week, and the opportunity is there, but really you've got to take it, grasp it with both hands. I know if you talk to any of our Olympians, I'll tell you, you just got to grasp opportunity, and this is an opportunity, so don't waste it.
So my question...
I don't know what the issue is here. It's just, if it's a beat up on the government, well, okay, we're here, but beat it up somewhere else with it, because Dr. Chant's really busy and I'm really busy. If you want to actually discuss the issues properly, we're here to do it. We came voluntarily. We didn't have to be here. Please just ask the questions. We'll give you the answers. When you're in a war, you don't win it with wacko views. And unfortunately, we're seeing that with some people who think that it's okay not to wear masks. My strong message to the community is we will only win this war against the virus if people wear masks and follow all of the other instructions that we understand will keep us safe. We owe this to ourselves. We owe this to the community more broadly. We owe this to our families. Wear a mask and don't get caught up in the wacko views that some are expressing. It was agreed that we would do it 1 hour. You've now had an hour and 15 minutes, and we have to prepare for other matters this afternoon.
Well, Minister, again, the invitation was for an hour and a half, and Dr. Chant, I think there are a number of questions.
I accepted for an hour. Thank you.
And again, I'd invite Dr. Chant and the Minister to spend the next 17 minutes answering questions rather than having a procedural debate.
David, I appreciate
Minister, and I do appreciate it. I know it's hard. I know you're tired.
I
We all
agree for
understand.
an hour. You've had an hour and a
Another
quarter.
15 minutes.
That's it. I was told this was an inquiry, but now I'm seeing it's more than that. There are a lot of people who don't base their decisions in science or evidence. And all I'll say is we're in a 1 in 100 year pandemic. The community more broadly need to understand the decisions are taken as best as possible on the basis of evidence and science to keep us safe. More broadly, I'd say to those, we had a question from the lady, the journalist here before, about some people not wanting to take vaccines. Well, my message to them is you're being extremely selfish. If you think you can not have a vaccine just because you don't want to have a vaccine, well, you should think about what you're doing to your family and to the community. And I would say even more than that, what a hide you have, what a ridiculous position is that when you're going to put health staff at risk, and when you get sick, you're going to expect to come into hospital and get paid for by taxpayers. You know what? It's time for those who actually think that way to wake up, including commentators who actually don't base their commentary in any logic whatsoever. And I just remind the committee that Dr. Chant has a lot of work to do this afternoon, and we voluntarily came here for 1 hour, now 1 hour and 10 minutes. So if we can finish after this question, I'd be very grateful so we can get on with doing the work that we do.
So just to let you know, we...
No, just let me I'll keep it short, but what you're missing is that Dr. Chant gives a range of advice, and that's what Dr. Chant has just explained, and I had to put it in the context, and you need the context. But I am aware of some reports that some people think it's a joke well, perhaps even worse than that, perhaps it's malicious, to put in false reports to Health and to Service New South Wales about somebody being positive. I'd heard those reports. I can now speak from personal experience. I received notification yesterday and again today from Service New South Wales and from Health that apparently somebody has put my name in there as being a positive rapid antigen test. Can I just say, first of all, it's extremely irresponsible. You're undermining what the public health team is trying to do here to keep the entire community safe. It is juvenile, it is moronic, but it's also just so disappointing to think that you would actually undermine an incredibly hard-working public health team here in New South Wales trying to keep us safe. We are all probably going to get this virus at some point in the next year or two. Those viruses are going to be around for a long while. So please don't stand on your dig. If you've told your mates that I'm not going to have it because of whatever, well, now's the time to actually say, actually, you know what, I'm thinking about it. It's a new year, I'm going to change my ways. Can I just remind you...
Minister, could I invite you? Minister, could I invite you, please? Could I invite you, please? If you insist upon continuing to answer, could you please complete your answer within 30 seconds, and then we will go to Dr. Chant. I do know that other members...
I think that was just a political statement by you, Mr. Shoebridge, so thank you for that
Minister,
political statement.
I do know that other members have...
Exactly what you've been doing, and that's the end of today's hearing. Thank you very much.
Well, Minister...
Well, that's disappointing, Minister.
Just go away somewhere and stop spreading lies and mistruths. What you're doing is you're scaring people unnecessarily. Live in your own world. I mean, unfortunately, social media allows people to gather together and they think that they're actually the majority. They're not. But they can actually send messages which are absolutely wrong, spurious, misleading, and actually, quite simply, could cause someone's death. So give a damn about someone else other than yourself.
The UN has called travel restrictions apathy. Should the travel bans be put
Apathy?
Apathy.
Can I read it?
APTHEID. Last question.
Apartheid.
There you go.
Can you read the question again to me? Sorry. Apartheid, yeah.
Okay.
That means, anyway, that's all right.
Defaced your property. Somebody actually did deface the front lawn with the word tyrant right across it. And that was, yeah, it's pretty bad, very close to everything, really.
Yep. Don't let the door hit you on the way out to your retirement, Mr. Hazard. A good riddance. And for those asking, I will put that montage, compilation, or highlights or disgrace lights on the Unshackled YouTube channel and Odyssey channel after this stream. Now we've got Reg Penney back. We hope that his audio is a bit better. Hey Reg, are you there?
Yeah, mate, how you going?
I can hear you. Oh no, wait, we've lost Reg again. I will try and get Reg back because we have got some upper house results that we are going to go through, but it has been called now a majority Labor government. Chris Minns will be the premier. So ALP has got that projected to get that 47 seats now, according to the ABC, and the LNP 26, and the Greens 2, and then 8 others. If we go to the party totals there, I'll try and bring Reg back. Are you there?
Guys, you there?
Yep. Yeah, I could hear you well before, but now you're all echoey again.
Oh, sorry, mate. Just
Oh, now you're breaking up, Reg.
No,
are you on? Yeah. Are you on internet?
I'm just I'm at the pub at the moment, mate. I'm in the bar.
What do you make of the result?
Yeah,
oh, sorry, I can't
and
hear
there's
you at
one
all.
I want to book because Jimmy Lewis, and I also own bet. I'm just not happy that no one just out.
I can't hear you very well, Reg, but we'll switch to the upper house results because they're starting to come in now.
Yeah, good call,
so we have so far the Labor Party on 32%, Liberals and Nationals on 28%, and then you have the Greens on 9.4%. You have the Legalized Cannabis Party on 3.64%, so they might get a seat. Shooters Fishers Party 3.6%, and the Liberal Democrats 2.19%. Jeremy Buckingham, who's the former Greens MLC, he's the lead candidate for the Legalized Cannabis Party, so he'll be returning to the Parliament.
Sure about that?
Oh, the ABC website has a breakdown of the quotas. So Labor has at least 7, Liberal National Coalition 6, the Greens 2, One Nation at least 1, Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party nearly at a quota, 0.96% of a quota, Legalized Cannabis 0.83, Liberal Democrats 7.1. We have a Group A, Lyle Shelton, 0.25% of a quota, 1.2%. So are the Elizabeth Farrelly Teal Independents. Ricardo Bossi is at 0.8%, and we don't have a tally yet for Craig Kelly in Group B.
Yeah, so I did put my references down. I want One Nation and others from one of my and I should support one of those who is there for Australia and the state. But the problem is, New South Wales is gone now. According to it,
New South Wales is gone. It's fallen.
Yeah. Rigged.
It's what?
I think it's rigged, mate.
Why do you think that? It could be just that's what the people voted for. unbelievable as it is.
Yeah, well, people are too busy being sheep. So, may God have mercy on our souls.
What do you think of these results? What do you think because we've got 2 legalized cannabis in Victoria. Now it looks like New South Wales will be getting one. What do you think about that?
Well, Victoria, you know, they were lucky to have one nation in. I'm happy about that. But New South Wales, well, if Mark Oakley gets back in, I'm happy.
He will. It's unknown whether
he
will be re-elected with him.
Yeah, but legalised cannabis party is part of the Greens and all that. Why would anyone vote for the legalised cannabis party if they want to put so much potheads out there?
Sorry?
I reckon Australian Labor Party and the Greens are taking up the legalised cannabis party to destroy one nation.
You think so?
I think both parties, and I think most parties are working together to destroy one nation by putting legalised cannabis party to destroy one nation. That's what they're trying to do. They put the other party in to destroy it. Because the Animal Justice Party won't even do the thing. Besides being vegans.
Back in, I don't think the Animal Justice Party.
Yeah, so far, the website
we might wrap this up shortly because your internet's still not that good.
Sorry.
We will look at the front pages of the major news websites in Australia. So let's start with the Sydney newspapers. Oh, we can see you now, Reg. You got your sunnies on. You see yeah. So we'll have a look at, this is the Sydney Morning Herald. Labor returns to power. Labor on course for majority government. The party let down Dom, former Premier says. So that was what Mike Baird said. Let's go over to the Daily Telegraph. Perrottet calls Minns to concede New South Wales election defeat. We'll go to the ABC. You accumulate barnacles. Treasurer blames internal challenges Barralargo saga for election loss. So that is what Matt Keane has said. Let's have a look at the Guardian. Chris Minns to be next New South Wales Premier as Labor to form government. And they've also got in their front page, terrifying what's behind the backlash against Australia's queer community. So that's what the papers are talking about tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a result there, you know. Liberal self-drive now in New South Wales because, you know, Liberal's been around for years on power.
And yeah, it's quite surprising that One Nation hasn't done so well.
Yeah, the media, most of the media is just trying to destroy One Nation. That's what they're trying to do. I mean, when it comes to people trying to stand up in this country, I mean, you know, every time trying to stand up in this country, you get crucified. I mean, so when the Bible says, the Lord hate me, God says, remember, the Lord hate me before. So basically, I mean, people are going to silence it to find dramas and things are going to get for bad in this country. So
make contact with us all, and may God have mercy on us all.
Yes, there's a lot to consider, but thanks for joining me tonight, Reg. Even though
Yeah, no worries. I apologise for my difficulties and all that, because I tried to use the Bluetooth, but yeah, but it's better off doing the speaker and all that.
Everyone's
good to see you, everyone. It's been a long time, so yeah, it's really busy.
Reg.
Yeah. May God help us all.
All right, everybody, that concludes the Unshackled New South Wales State Election Night live stream. We only went for 2 hours tonight, but it was for the main count. So we started when the votes were coming in and finished when government, when it has been called that the New South Wales Labor Party will form government. Even though Chris Minns is from the Labor right, the New South Wales Labor left put out a pitch for socialists to vote for them, which was quite incredible. So yes, even though Chris Minns says, he's from the right faction, he's a safe pair of hands, we shall see if he goes down the left-wing route that Dan Andrews, Anastasia Palaszczuk and Anthony Albanese at a federal level have. So thank you all for joining us tonight. There'll be no Wilms Front tomorrow night. There will be, of course, Tim's News Explosion on Monday. Thank you also to Dewey for joining us to give us the terrifying insight into what it was like at the Let Women Speak event in Melbourne. Remember, I couldn't get the super chats going tonight, but if you want to support the Unshackled's work, you can take out a premium membership at theunshackled.net/membership. Bronze $5 per month, silver $10 per month, gold $25 per month, and platinum $50 per month. So people of New South Wales, welcome to the Labor Club. We'll see if it's any easier for you. And I guess the Dominic Perrottet's strategy of going from conservative to progressive did not work. So we shall see if he has any repentance or reflection or remorse. But that's it from us here tonight. We'll obviously have a full wrap of the aftermath in all its forms on the unshackled.net and be back on Monday. So good night, everybody. Stay safe, stay sane, stay free, and try and stay positive despite the results tonight.
This has been an Unshackled live stream. View all our previous live events at theunshackled.net/live streams. While you're here, grab our free ebook at theunshackledbattlefield.net and keep checking out theunshackled.net for all the latest news and commentary.